Fernsehen, das kommt erst, nur Schock kommt der Blödsinn. Für mich ist das der Elektrojude.
I remember watching the Teletubbies when I was younger. The Teletubbies is America's #1 children's show with over 16 million viewers and over $2 billion in merchandise sales. This show is targeted mainly at babies and preschoolers. It's very odd how I personally barely remember any other TV show from my childhood, but I remember the Teletubbies so vividly. The bright colors, the songs, the creepy dancing, and the scenery. My memories of this show seem psychedelic and dreamlike. I never thought too much about the Teletubbies until recently when I started to think about the impact propaganda has had on my generation. We millennials grew up watching the Teletubbies. In fact, we have been constantly consuming similar forms of propaganda all of our lives. As a result, this generation is weak, sexually confused, morally deprived, and disturbed. College kids are now calling the cops and seeking therapy when they see a mouse in their apartment. I'm pretty sure most people will agree that most of the millennials are fucked up. There are many reasons why millennial kids are suddenly so messed up compared to the previous generations. Some people may blame poor parenting and education, but I think a lot of us overlook the harmful effects propaganda has had on kids. More specifically, communist propaganda. Children are extremely impressionable in their early ages. Even ask feminists about letting girls play with boy toys and how important it is, and they will be forced to agree. The things that you see from birth to age 8 will affect your perception of social normality. For the first TV show most children are exposed to happens to be the Teletubbies. To understand the message behind the Teletubbies, we have to dissect the show. Where did this show come from? The show was created by BBC, which we know has communist leanings. We know now that the BBC destroyed a stash of files at the end of the Cold War after years of vetting current and potential employees for links to communism. But back in 1996, the great late Sir James Goldsmith tried to warn us that the communists have infiltrated the British Labour Party and the British media. He set up pirate radio stations out at sea and organized mass mailing campaigns to warn people about the communist infiltration of the BBC. First, let's look at the setting of the show. The Teletubbies seem to live in a communist utopia called Teletubbyland. These degenerates don't do any work and they live a very hedonistic lifestyle. They just prance around and play without any care or responsibilities. When they make a mistake, they just go, uh-oh, and the machine provided by the state comes and cleans it up for them. Those machines prepare their meals and clean everything for them. In fact, I noticed that most modern children's cartoons are set in a very similar utopia. Take a look at the majority of millennials today, more specifically the Bernie Sanders supporter types. They are demanding for free college, free this and free that. They want the state to take care of them. Perhaps this kind of propaganda has helped shape their perception of an ideal society. Now let's look at the characters. There are 4 characters and each character has their own favorite item. First, we have the purple Tinky Winky. He is the biggest one and seems to be the leader. His favorite item is a handbag and he sometimes wears a skirt. But since he is specified a male, clearly he is transgender as well. Funny how now when the millennials are grown up, the transgender trend is kicking off. Millennials everywhere are questioning their gender identity. Just look at Ask Transgender on Reddit. Could this kind of propaganda perhaps be the cause? In 1999, Jerry Falwell warned us that Tinky Winky was a covert homosexual symbol because he is purple, the gay pride color, and his antenna is shaped like a triangle, the gay pride symbol. The BBC officially responded with, Tinky Winky is simply a sweet technological baby with a magic bag. Despite this, Tinky Winky won international awards for being a groundbreaking gay icon, and the BBC pretended not to notice. I remember while watching the show with my uncle, he would laugh and say, "Oh man, Tinky Winky is so gay." I wasn't sure what he meant by that until now. Second, we have Dipsy, who is the only dark-skinned one. He is green and he wears this fashionable top hat. In my opinion, he kinda looks like a pimp. He is about the same size as the yellow Teletubby and they're always paired together, like a nice little couple. The antenna on Dipsy is just a straight line which literally looks like he has a dick on his head. Third, we have Lala, the yellow pretty blonde. She is clearly the only female of the group. She has this bouncy ball toy which she has no problem sharing with the other characters. Her name and character were symbolic of her. Lastly, we have Po, who is the red runt. His name in German literally translates to butt in English. He is supposed to be the straight white male of the group. He is also the smallest and weakest. He is very childlike. His antenna is very feminine compared to Dipsy's. No backstory is ever presented about who the Teletubbies are, where they came from, and what their purpose is. It's very clear that the Teletubbies do not lead their lives as individuals, but they live as a collective. They live peacefully in their Evalion group home. Their lives are dictated by voices. These voices discipline the Teletubbies and it tells them what to do. The narration style of the voices is patterned after American child psychologists with the low, slow, hypnotizing speech. The voice is made to come off very authoritarian and knowledgeable. The Teletubbies never question authority and always obey the voice. They are literally showing kids how to conform and be good little slave soldiers. No wonder why so many millennials are social justice warriors. There are some very sexual looking clips during some of the Teletubby episodes. This clip, for example, is absolutely disgusting and I have no idea how they got away with putting this on live television for children to watch. The Teletubbies is definitely not an innocent kids show. A typical Teletubbies episode starts with the voice telling the Teletubbies to say hello. All four comrades dance and fuck around until the pinwheel starts turning. Immediately, the comrades run over to the pinwheel and perform some strange dance ritual. When the ritual is complete, one of the Teletubbies' bellies turns into a TV screen for a short propaganda clip to play. Often in these propaganda clips, you see non-white children behaving very well, doing chores or playing with other children. In this particular clip, a Negro child is doing the dishes. Oddly, these propaganda clips are played twice in a row, so that the video being played is burned into the minds of the young children watching. These propaganda clips are purely social engineering. Scientists discovered that babies have a racial bias towards their own race. Those same scientists also found a way to reverse that racial bias by exposing babies to faces of other races. Now, we know this show is from England and is intended for children under the age of 5. I believe the purpose of these propaganda clips and the show in general is to make kids tolerant to people of other races, and it worked. Notice how a lot of millennials supported the refugees entering their country. Also, notice how various forms of multicultural propaganda is shoved down millennials' throats. It's very rare that you see a millennial like me who's not afraid of being called racist or politically incorrect. This is all part of an even bigger, more nefarious plan to breed out the strong white race and create a new mixed breed race that can be easily controlled, just like the Teletubbies are.